Business Live today.
In our first story tonight, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, is making a case for the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, to ensure its stakes in the various oil fields in the country. Dubbed loss of production insurance, the committee believes such a move should save the country any possible financial loss, especially during periods oil production is suspended due to reasons such as challenges with the FPSO. Here's the Vice Chairman of PIAC, Kwame Jantua, throwing more light on the rationale behind the directive.
Earlier, we have validation, and this particular issue came up in the last validation meeting we had. And GNPC, we have, pushed them, and we are talking to them to consider. I think it helps everybody. It doesn't only help GNPC, but it's good for our own fiscal policy in terms of how we handle our finances. So, and they listen. I must say, at our validation meeting, the top people in most of the stakeholders were there. And so those who are supposed to take a decision are the ones who come for these validation meetings. So they are listening. So I think it's a good thing. Okay. And it's expected that stakeholders, the media, will take it on and run with it till such time that we see a change in some of the issues that come up. So whatever recommendations have been brought up here, we will try as much as possible to highlight it in our next report and even deal with it.
Well, according to the report, government's revenues from the Jubilee field received by GNPC declined by 30%. The company received $88.50 million. That's almost 40% of the entire receipts. Joe Winfo is chairman of the committee.
Oh, no, I'm not satisfied, but there's very little I can do about it, because we will just report on that and see how best we can use whatever is there to do the job. And if we can't finish that, then it means that we'll depend on donor agencies who have been helping. We are not supposed to insist on implementation of our recommendations. Our report goes to the public, it goes to the subcommittee of the ministry and the rest of it. And then they will have to interrogate the report and find out areas that they will have to address. But that is why the consultant said he believes that the media and the Ghanaian population should follow Occupy Ghana to push for implementation of the recommendations.
Are you, with your funds, which has been allocated to you, are you calling for increment, or you think you're okay with it?
You heard my comments. If we want to do what PIAC is supposed to do, it's going to cost you more than 10 times the cost that came out. But we don't have the resources.
Well, let's explore this further. We have on the line the Executive Director of Kite, Ishmael Ejekumhene, who was at the launch of the report to help us with some further analysis. Thanks for your time tonight. Now, PIAC wants GNPC to ensure its production activities. Why do you think this is very relevant?
Well, basically, there were some disruptions last year, and for a period of about 12 weeks or so, there was no production, and a period of about 44 days. But I think PIAC says they noticed that the Jubilee partners obtained some insurance. They were able to claim some insurance from their insurers in the form of loss of production insurance and business operating insurance. So all the Jubilee partners got some money from their insurers because there were some days that there were no production. But I think that PIAC noticed that GNPC didn't report any such income, and they found out that apparently we hadn't taken any insurance on our own. So that's how come I believe PIAC is recommending.
And so how different is this from hedging?
Hedging is different. Hedging, this one actually is in respect of you actually producing. When revenue is a function of two things, price and the output, the product. Hedging is almost like an insurance against price volatility, but the loss of production insurance is against if, for example, an act of God renders it impossible for you to produce. So you don't get the produce. Even if the price is good, there will be no barrels of crude oil to be sold. So that's the difference. Hedging is you taking some gamble on a certain price to say that regardless of what happens, I expect to be able to sell my crude at, let's say, $50. So
okay.
even if it goes to $25, you still get your $50.
Okay. So some figures we are gleaning from that report, we are hearing the revenues from the Jubilee field received by the GNPC declined by 30%. We're also hearing that the company received $88.50 million. That's almost 40% of the entire receipts. What do you make of these figures?
It tells us that our revenue from the petroleum sector is declining because this one, even we had some production from the 10 fields. So, but for the 10 fields, the total production would have been like total production minus 10 fields was about 26 million barrels compared to 47 million barrels the previous year. So even with the 6 million or so barrels that came through the 10 fields, we only were able to raise this amount. The price, the revenues are coming down. In terms of what went to GNPC, it's also what you probably haven't noticed is the lowest since oil production also began.
Wow.
And it wasn't enough to even cover all their costs, and they had to rely on some monies that they had put somewhere for what they call flagship projects. So things will obviously have to turn around a bit, otherwise the revenue that we get in is dwindling.
I'm sure we'll explore this issue further in the future, but I just wanted to ask you quickly, because I want to believe that you've read through the report yourself. To you, what were some of the highlights of that report?
I think it's the fact that some of the license, or the majority of the license companies, are not paying their surface rental. Out of about 18 or so companies that have licenses, only about 5 paid surface rental in 2016. It's not an awful lot of money, but it's something that they have to pay. The law says that the money should be assessed and paid at the beginning of every year. It was only about 5 companies who paid their surface rental. Some of them are in arrears; they haven't paid. The law says that they should pay those surface rentals with interest whenever there is a delay in payment. That's not acceptable. I mean, whether it's almost like you've rented somebody's building to do your business, and you say because business wasn't good, you are not paying the landlord. They won't understand. So that's one. I think another major highlight that you find in the report is the growing indebtedness of BRA to Ghana Gas. That debt has ballooned to about $434 million. And for me, I guess is the biggest thing that you guys should be following on, because it's serious. Certainly, Ghana Gas has been brought into this whole vicious cycle of indebtedness, and because of that, we're not getting money into the petroleum fund, and Ghana Gas is also unable to service its debt and things like that. So for me, these are the 2 takeaways from the report that we need to look at. It's also something about corporate income tax, the fact that some corporate income tax was paid, but it was in respect of reassessment of what ought to have been received about 2-3 years ago. And I don't think that is good enough. We need to be able to assess these companies so that we receive our money when we are supposed to receive them. So these are some of the highlights.
Okay. Thanks very much, Ishmael Ejekumuhene of Kite, for that perspective. Lots of issues that we need to explore going forward. Thanks very much indeed. We'll still remain in this space because prices of petroleum products are to witness one of the significant declines in recent times from this weekend. The drop has been influenced by the continuous fall in crude oil prices on the international market and the city's instability. George Afe has more.
Users of diesel engine vehicles will witness a 4% reduction, or a little over 2 pesos on each litre sold at the pumps. This means that a gallon could go for 16 Ghana cedis 54 pesos. Petrol would rather go down by just a little over 1%, resulting in a gallon going for 16 Ghana cedis, 63 pesos. So, if you were buying 10 gallons of diesel every week, this might result in some 7 Ghana cedis savings. However, due to the current deregulation policy, not all the over 72 oil marketing companies might review prices by this projected margin. Managing Director of GOIL, Peter Akoli, had told Joy Business prices will go down as long as the Ghana cedi stabilizes.
Prices will remain stable because the cedi is relatively doing well now, and the plots don't indicate that prices will go up substantially. So we don't foresee any astronomical rise in the price of fuel products as pump.
However, the continuous drop might not be good news for the state, as the decline will affect the projected revenue from crude exports and even taxes on each litre of petroleum products sold at the pumps. The development might affect projects the government was hoping to use petroleum taxes to finance, as outlined in the 2017 budget.
Let's turn to another big commodity, cocoa, and the International Cocoa Organization has hiked Ghana's cocoa production estimate for this crop season by 100,000 tons. The ICCO had previously projected a production estimate of 850,000 tons and is now speculating 950,000. In its latest report, the ICCO flagged reports from the Ghana Cocoa Board that the infestation of some farmlands by armyworms had been quashed, adding that Cocoa Board has ruled out any significant impact of the infestation on cocoa output. Meanwhile, Côte d'Ivoire's output estimate has also been lifted by 80,000 tons to 1.90 million tons. And while we talk about this, cocoa prices have fallen sharply since August 2016 in anticipation of a high supply surplus. Today, on the commodity market, is trading around $2,073 a ton. Well, still with cocoa, and cocoa farmers might end up getting an increase in producer price and bonus for the next crop season. It follows government's plan to review an earlier decision by Cocoa Board. There's more in the following report.
Joy Business understands that government, the major shareholder in Cocoa Board, is yet to give its approval to this decision. Chief Executive of the Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahene Edu, at a meeting with journalists earlier this month, announced that the move was influenced by the continuous drop in price of cocoa beans on the international market. This forced the board not to increase the current price of 427 cedis for every kilo bag enjoyed by farmers for the next crop season. The country has lost almost $1 billion as a result of this development on the world market. However, this has not gone down well with some farmers who fear that this may affect cocoa production and the end-of-year target of not less than 850,000 metric tons. Sources say government, through the Agric Ministry, is engaging the Cocoa Board to look at possibly reviewing the decision. Some analysts say looking at the cocoa economy at a local level, it might not be prudent to go ahead with this plan of not increasing the producer price of cocoa as well as bonus for cocoa farmers.
Government has settled on Fidelity Bank and Standard Chartered Bank as lead managers for its 10-year energy bond. This was after evaluating proposals from 10 transaction advisors that wanted to act as managers for the Energy Sector Levy Act backed bond. According to the statement from the Finance Ministry, the joint lead managers are expected to work closely with members of their respective syndicates or consortia and any other local banks or financial institutions as co-managers with a view of building capacity locally and facilitating knowledge transfer. This energy bond issuance, the process of which will be used to repay the legacy debt of the energy sector SOEs, is in line with this strategy as a country as stated in paragraph 805 of the 2017 budget statement and economic policy of government. To streamline ESLA flows to resolving the various issues within the energy sector, which have led to intermittent power supply and high tariffs, as well as provide liquidity to the banking sector, and that's, of course, news that we are just receiving. Now, government has hinted it will stick to the 6-month ban on small-scale mining in the country. The moratorium, which is part of measures to help end illegal mining across the country, has been opposed by some small-scale miners who claim it poses a threat to their business. But Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Dr. Johnson Siedu, maintains the ban still stands. Now, speaking to Joy Business at the presentation on findings of the final report on artisanal and small-scale gold mining at Kempinski Hotel, the minister revealed government is also considering auditing all mining firms in the country.
Of course, we've said it. We said 6 months. And I would say we are almost 3 months there. We're left with 3 more months. Yes. Why we said 6 months was that we hope that by then we would be able to put in place the necessary measures that would then regulate the system, sanitize the system. We even need to reclaim the lands. After they've abandoned the pits, we need to reclaim them. We've gone round. Some of the pits that have been left open, we've had some scientists to also do some chemical analysis of the mercuric levels that we have there. Some of them is as high as 2%. And that is huge, and that's dangerous. So we need to do all this. This is not something that you quickly rush. Those
small-scale miners are saying it's unfair.
Unfair? Please, please, when you have 2% mercuric level in your country, and somebody tells you that it's unfair,
for you to ban it for 6 whole months?
I said 6 months, and we've gone with 3 months. So why do you still want to push me to say something else? That is it. I am consistent with that. I am saying 6 months. And with the last scale, please, yes, some may be doing what is not right, but we need to make sure that we will check all of them as well, and we will do that. Look, the entire project, we keep on saying, is between 4 years to 5 years. Let's get our mind right on that. People have been doing this for more than 20 years, and you think you can use 6 months to just correct everything? Please, let's not fool ourselves. Let's talk about what we can do. But let me tell you as it is. We said we are going to sanitize the system. First of all, we are going to stop them. We're almost there. We said we will sanitize the system. Sanitization, what we mean is that we're going to look at even auditing all mining firms.
In other news tonight, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, has indicated plans to set up agencies across the various regions. The regional investment promotion agencies, according to the center, should help investment attraction, especially as government undertakes a one district, one factory project. Chief Executive of the GIPC, Yofi Grant, tells Joy Business Ghana is adopting the model to boost its investment drive.
So take Ashanti region, for example, great possibilities. Take Volta region, great agri possibilities, great manufacturing possibilities, great water transport possibilities. Maybe we should set an IPA, Volta region IPA, and Ashanti IPA, a northern region IPA, or or western region IPA to actually promote investments into the region. And it became even very poignant to me when I listened to the presentation from the Northern Development Authority, which is going to be set up, or what is now SADA. Yeah. And there was a lot of interest from the Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal. They wanted to know specifics, and when they heard of iron ore, they heard of agriculture possibilities, they latched on and asked a bit more questions and asked for further engagement. Indeed, Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal wants to do an MOU with GIPC towards doing a bilateral investment treaty between the agencies, not even the country, but between the agencies. It says, look, let's do our own bilateral trade and look at a double taxation agreement if we do not have one with South Africa. So, you know, people are on the move. They're not waiting. And you need to take, they're not waiting for the country to do. Everybody's now looking at it in a constructive way. And I think we should look at it. Currently, GIPC has 3 offices nationwide. That's woefully inadequate. So we do not exploit our own opportunities extensively. But if you look at the one district, one factory policy, for example, because of that, I think it's important to have regional IPAs, because they are best to know what is there. They can capture it best and package it best for investors.
Taking you to the Ashanti region now, where city authorities in Kumasi have given traders and commercial drivers along major streets at Kejetia and Edum 24 hours to move out or be forcefully ejected. Officials say they will countenance no resistance because alternative sites have been made available at the racecourse area for the affected people.
Industry players and the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, have been calling on commercial banks to reduce lending rates for private sector businesses since the policy rate has been reduced significantly to 22.5%, the biggest drop in 10 years. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana, BOG, in its last meeting noted that the country's...
Okay, a little mix-up there. We'll certainly bring you that report. Let's move on to another story we're covering for you tonight. The Bank of Ghana is calling on banks in the country to reduce further their interest rates on loans to the public. This, the bank says, will improve Ghana's business environment for private sector growth and attract many more people into the banking sector. Speaking during the launch of Heritage Bank's new branch opening at East Legon here in Accra, head of banking supervision at the Bank of Ghana, Raymond Amanfo, asked banks to, as a matter of urgency, reduce their lending rates in response to the current policy rate. There's more in the following report.
Industry players and the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, have been calling on commercial banks to reduce lending rates for private sector businesses since the policy rate has been reduced significantly to 22.5%, the biggest drop in 10 years. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana, BOG, in its last meeting noted that the country's business environment has improved, hence the need for the reduction in policy rates. Speaking during the opening of Heritage Bank new branch at East Legon, head of banking supervision at the BOG, Raymond Amanfo, urged banks to bring down the lending rates since many of its determining factors have taken a downward trend.
I take this opportunity to urge all banks, including Heritage Bank, to consider the issue of high interest rates. We expect banks to respond favorably to the declining monetary policy rate and the treasury bill rates. This, I believe, will make credits more affordable, help boost productivity, and at the same time have a favorable effect on the non-performing loans structure of banks. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I once again congratulate the board, management, and staff of Heritage Bank for taking this bold step in expanding its horizon and bringing banking solutions to the doorstep of its clients.
On his part, Managing Director of Heritage Bank, Patrick Fisian, explains the bank has dropped down its rates, even though the policy rate of the Bank of Ghana is not the only determining factor.
The base rate of Heritage Bank is currently 90.5, which is one of the lowest in the market. But you must also realize that the lending rates are not just driven by the Bank of Ghana policy rates. Your base rate is a composite of your cost of funds, your overheads, and the risk premium you attach to your facilities. So if you have a bank which has invested heavily in fiscal infrastructure, technology infrastructure, as a result of which there is a huge cost base, the base rate cannot come down immediately because the policy rate is just one of the various components that's considered. So yes, it will take time for the policy rate to impact on the base rate because in the long term, a lowering of the policy rate will reduce the cost of funds. But remember, it's just one of the components of your base rate.
The East Legon branch is the second branch of the bank since it began operation in February this year. Heritage Bank hopes to open about 10 additional branches in the country before the end of the year.
Coming up after this short break is our interview of the day. Stay with us.
Business Live today. Interview of the day.
Welcome back. Cyber fraud is the main factor accounting for low internet banking penetration in the country. That's according to the latest survey conducted by audit firm KPMG, which focused on service quality in the banking industry. Head of Financial Services, Strategy and Operations at KPMG, Robert Jato, has been speaking to Joy Business.
Why is internet banking in Ghana low?
Well, possibly a number of reasons. One is most of the customers that we've interviewed actually said, I'd love to use digital. I would like to use online banking, but I'm concerned about the fraud. And so cybersecurity is a concern to a number of customers and fraud as well. But that is beginning to change. Well, in our survey, we found out that possibly only 4% of customers use online banking. But that's the average across the banking industry in Ghana. There are some specific banks that have done extremely well, possibly in the regions of 30%. So if you go bank specific, then you find that the story is changing and changing very, very fast. And we begin to see some banks, responding to that. The truth is that when there's fraud or cybersecurity issues, the bank suffers and customers suffer as well. So it's a strategic imperative for banks to begin to look at their system vulnerability, what platforms are we using, and how do we ensure that our platforms are robust enough. Truth is that fraudsters are getting very organized. They are organized around business lines. So we have corporate fraudsters, we have retail, and banks need to begin to look at the dynamics of what's happening out there. And I guess
Interview of the day.
And thanks for your time with us tonight. My name is Darryl Kwa. We are back same time tomorrow with some more business news on Business Live. Thanks for watching.